exactly what I've always done. Is I love planning, I love organising. So the project management part of what I've done has always been that kind of common theme throughout anything that I do, because I just approach most things as a project. So whether it's kind of, people things, or whether it's, kind of we're doing a rebrand, it's always a project, a start and an end and a delivery of that. And what goes in the middle is kind of pulling that team together and getting the right people on board.
Hi Rachel, and welcome to Wrecked. It's really nice to have you here with us.
Thank you, it's a pleasure to be here.
So just to give a bit of an insight into yourself, you are Rachel and you run Studio White Marketing.
Yep, that's correct.
Brilliant, I'm glad we have established that.
Finally.
And so today, thanks for getting wrecked. We're really excited to have you as a guest because of all of your marketing experience, but also like your agency experience as well.
Yeah.
It's really nice to have a guest that has a broad spectrum of both in-house and agency roles, and also who likes bags as well.
Absolutely, the obsession.
The obsession is real. So just take us back then to start off with, please, and explain how you started your career.
Okay, so how far back are we going?
We're going right the way back. Not obviously like I was born at this date.
Yeah, that'd be a bit boring. So I think I was first kind of interested in marketing when I was working for a hotel and leisure brand. Okay. So I saw an advert for a brand manager, saw all the qualifications that you needed. It was a CIM or a marketing degree. And at that point I was like, well, I didn't go to university. I haven't done a CIM. Would I ever be considered for that type of role? Loved the whole idea of eventually working with brands. So I just thought, right, how do I do this? So at the time went in to see personnel, which is obviously showing my age because it's now HR. So we all go
people
back.
In culture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. At the time it was personnel manager, and I remember saying to her, right, this is an internal advert. I know I won't get it. It's way out of my league. What do I need to do to get this job eventually? And she said, well, you probably need to do the qualifications, so maybe a CIM. And that was the first point where I was like, right, this is what I need to do. So I started looking into CIM, which is the Chartered Institute of Marketing. Yep. Which obviously you are a fellow as well.
I don't think I'm not allowed to be a fellow yet.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were.
No, I think I'm an associate. Because you know how they go through like things. And
Are you chartered?
I'm chartered, yeah.
Right, that's where I've got it mixed up then. I knew you were definitely chartered. So
They won't give me that pleasure yet.
Oh, really? Oh, well, I've managed to reach that. So I just researched into it to see what it was all about and what I needed to do. And I felt like it was quite a long path ahead of me. But I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get qualified, learn more about marketing, and then just kind of throw myself into it. So
I like how structured the CIM is, to be fair.
Yes.
Because it kind of gives you, like, you know, when you're like at school and you do your swimming badges and it's like 5 meters, 10 meters, it kind of reminded me of that. And like, I'm a sucker for anything like that. I'm like, yeah, I just want the next one now. I just want the next one.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of similar to you, I didn't have a marketing background. I studied English at uni and kind of worked in sales before, and then sort of fell into marketing and then went through the CIM and kind of loved it ever since.
Yes, yeah. And it's a really good path because it's just giving you all that theory and all the passion that I had for brands, which at that point I just felt like everything that I saw anywhere, I critiqued it. So I'd look at an advert, I'd look at a billboard, I'd just think, someone at some point has sat in a room in an agency and had a blank sheet of paper and just had a load of ideas. And I just got really excited about it. And I was like, that's what I want to do. You know, I just want to make that advert, that billboard better. And that's was kind
really
of my
cool.
passion. So that's kind of where it was born. So I did 3 qualifications through the CIM. So I got to the point where I did my postgraduate.
Nice.
And it took a while to get there, but I'd always got those goals of getting qualified, reaching fellow status as well, and ultimately getting chartered, because I just felt like it's going to give me so much kind of structure and credibility and knowledge as well that I could actually use in my everyday life. So that's kind of what kick-started the passion for marketing, which is now 23 years ago.
Wow, yeah. I think...
Or a couple of decades, however, I don't know which one sounds best.
No, I get that. I also think as well, like, it's probably so nice that you've got all of that level of experience, because like the world that you entered marketing into is so different than what marketing is today. Because some people think marketing is just social media now, or like SEO or whatever it is, and it isn't. It's so much more than that.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think throughout my career, because I've worked across all disciplines, very much as a generalist. I've never become a specialist in any area because going through, kind of marketing exec roles to marketing manager, leading teams, doing kind of a central marketing director role as well, and then doing CMO, you're always leading teams, so you've got your people, you've got your teams. So I've always kind of felt I was a leader and I'd be able to direct people in what I wanted the outcome to be, so I could see the end result, and it was the how-to. So, but I get it. I could sit down with the CRM team and kind of say, right, we're going to work on this campaign. This is where we need to get to. You techie guys, figure it out, okay? Because I love a bit of, kind of software, but I don't want to get involved in that. So that's where I've always been, that sort of the generalist, but very much having strong teams and people around me who were the specialists.
I think that's really important. And actually, I think kind of taken back 5 years ago when I kind of first fell into marketing, everyone was telling you that you needed to niche down and pick a specialism. And I'm one of those people where I like kind of being across everything. Yeah. And I read this incredible book called Range. I can't remember who wrote it. But basically it said that actually in a world full of specialists, it's always the generalists that kind of rise up, as long as you can develop the people skills to kind of influence the specialists.
Definitely.
And that just really resonated because I am not a specialist in anything.
Yeah, and I'm exactly the same. And I think had I become a specialist, I probably would have just gone down that route, whereas continuing to just move my career forward, work with bigger teams, learn kind of their disciplines. So, before I knew it, when I was heading up an in-house agency, I was very much learning the dev language, and it is a different language and they are a different breed, and
different breed entirely.
Totally. Yeah. But I always felt that because I really kind of immersed myself in their area of the office, of the studio, that for me to really lead that team well, I need to kind of understand what their language is. Yeah, I'm not going to learn coding, but as long as I could understand, throw a few, JavaScripts and a few things in there, HTML, simple.
I think they appreciate it though, don't they? And it kind of helps you to garner more respect that you're actually taking an interest in it. But then also as well, I think from just an overall project management and kind of scoping point of view, if you can understand how long it takes or some of the complexities around it helps you to actually pull together your shit and your admin much more effectively too.
Yeah, definitely. And that's exactly what I've always done. Is I love planning, I love organising. So the project management part of what I've done has always been that kind of common theme throughout anything that I do, because I just approach most things as a project. So whether it's kind of, people things, or whether it's, kind of we're doing a rebrand, it's always a project, a start and an end and a delivery of that. And what goes in the middle is kind of pulling that team together and getting the right people on board and just leading them. But, there's lots of lessons along the way. I've always tried to not get too involved as well, because it's, they're good things to learn, is that my idea isn't always the best idea. Even though at the time you think, oh, no, let's do it this way. I've, kind of done a lot of self-reflection throughout my career at times where I know I need to take that step back and I can't be involved in everything and lead the way all the time. It's hard when you're in that director position because people are looking to you to lead them. But I have to just kind of sit there and bite my tongue and go, let, other people let their ideas flourish.
I think it's that, and then also as well, I'm really lucky to have some incredible people around me that have kind of enforced their ideas of leadership onto me. And I know this guy called Paul, and he's always if anyone comes and asks you a question, as a leader, you should be saying, well, what 3 things have you already tried? Or kind of prompting people to solve their own problems
push
first.
back.
Yeah, and it's I'm one of those people where I'm the eldest child, I've always just sorted things for people.
Yeah.
And it's been so hard, kind of first time managers, when I was managing a team at 20, to not just jump in and solve it for them, and just actually you're right, it is taking a step back and being oh, okay, so what have you already tried? Why hasn't it worked?
Yeah.
Whereas I'm also very high red spectrum, and I'm just I just want this solved.
Yeah, exactly. I know. But then if you've got multiple things happening at the same time, then your time will just be eaten up and you'll be involved in absolutely everything. And as you grow yourself with your business as well, you can't get involved with everything. So you do need to trust other people and to push back and to, let them, like I say, flourish. It's the best. I've always done that. I've always kind of found my little gems in the team as well, and really wanted to nurture them and get them from the position they're in to the next level, hopefully with me and my team, but naturally if they see other opportunities elsewhere. And when you work in a corporate world, when I've worked client side, sometimes you can't give them the pay that they absolutely deserve, and I will fight tooth and nail for that, and I have done. And they see that, and I've got some brilliant relationships with some of the team members, and I've just seen them kind of grow, and sometimes they've had to move on to other roles, and I've been so proud of them that I've kind of really helped them to get there, and that's like a natural coaching kind of mentoring part of what I do, which is also linked to the CIM, which is what I do mentoring for them as well. So fully immersed into the CIM.
I love that.
We'll give them a shout out.
Yeah, can you sponsor me?
Yeah. We'll get them on board.
Give me fellowship, please.
Yeah.
Is it like an age
we'll fast track you.
Yeah, I think, is it like an age limit or like a time period that you need to have been like affiliated with them for? Is that how you reach fellowship, or is there like certain?
I know fellowship is definitely something like...
It's like the hardest one to achieve, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 10 to 15 years, strategic. Yeah. I know. So I know that's showing my age a little bit that I ticked that box. It wasn't just on merit. But I've been with them since 2002.
Oh, wow, okay.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm clocking up quite a few years.
Well, it's really nice actually. And I know how you were saying earlier, it shows what's the thing where the word's just gone straight out of my head. It shows like consistency and kind of like commitment to it. But I think that's where the credibility comes from. It is that you've literally stuck with something and followed that path for such a long time.
Yeah, definitely. And then to get to chartered status, which was always one of my goals, I was like, I want to be a marketing director. I want to be chartered. I want to have my own business. They were my 3 big goals. And I just thought that, having that CIM constantly run through my career, I believe that it would give me that credibility. It will give me that badge. I can put it on LinkedIn. I can put it on my emails. But yeah, to get there and to retain that chartered status as well, you've got to constantly keep evolving.
Yeah, keep learning.
Just keep learning.
Rack
and
up
you've
your
got
credits.
to, you've got to evidence it. And every year I get to August, which is my time to submit, and I'm here we go. I need to and I do keep. I'm very organised. I do keep like a link of everything that I do, all the webinars and things. And obviously, you will feature in it this year for a podcast.
Amazing, thank you.
I'll make sure you're one of my evidence pieces.
That is brilliant. But in terms of like the CIM then, I just want to ask, like when you were going through it in your early phases, were you in-house or were you in an agency when you were completing it?
So I was client side to begin with, and I got sponsored by Personnel. Yeah, she backed me. Nice. So that was brilliant. So
did you get the brand manager job?
I didn't go for it in the end.
Okay.
No. So what was funny actually was that first CIM, I did it, completed it, and then decided to take 2 years out and go travelling.
Nice.
So I was like, and I got my results when I was in Ibiza.
Love that.
And my dad just texted me this really, really long text message. And, this is going back a few years. It was very small little phones. I'll scroll. And then eventually he just said, so you passed. I was like, oh my gosh, you could have just said that at the start. Literally,
TLDR,
I know. I was like, come on. Because obviously I was away. So he went to my mum and dad's address. So they told me that I'd passed my first CIO, which was amazing. But yeah, first of all, I was client side, in-house. Client side, sponsored. And then the second time when I came back from travelling, I was like, right, I'm back from travelling, ready to kind of work in an agency, and that's when I started doing my second one. Awesome. Which was a bit of a struggle because social life took priority.
Yeah, you get that in an agency. The reason I asked that question was because I predominantly worked in agencies. I had a stint in-house and I just really didn't like it. Yeah. I got so bored managing one brand.
Yeah.
And basically, like everyone who I kind of mentioned it to, and I'd worked in 2 agencies when I was considering it, were like, oh, you just don't need to do it. You just don't need to do it. And I was like, so I actually funded mine myself because I really wanted to do it. And luckily the agency that I was at when I was actually going through it kind of helped me out in other ways. Like they give me more holiday, especially around like submission times and stuff. But yeah, it was just... I just didn't really understand like that I was in this environment and like no one wanted me to do it. Like, really? I was a bit like, why?
Oh, I don't know. I've always just been a massive believer of it. And even when I've been recruiting, sort of marketing execs or marketing managers, whatever level, if they've got CIM, straight away I'll just look at them and that kind of yes, no, maybe pile they're absolutely going into the yeses.
Yeah.
And then I've also kind of nurtured some of my team as well and got them sponsored to go onto CIM programs. You know, like I said, I've just been such a big believer in it, especially for people who don't get to go to university or choose not to for whatever reasons. So yeah, I really do. Yeah, I believe in it.
I'd rather actually employ someone who hasn't studied marketing at uni and then put them through CIM, purely because every single person who I've kind of worked with or ended up managing that have gone through university to study marketing have actually not been good marketers.
Really?
I will die on that hill.
Really?
Yeah, they don't understand the commercial side of it, in my opinion. They just come out thinking like, oh, we can just do this and we'll have the budget to do like a big campaign. Obviously, I guess working with agencies, the agencies that I've worked with, like we have been our clients' marketing teams, and that's how we operate at Big Rep. So it's kind of like they don't have like Gymshark or ASOS's or Boohoo's budget. So I don't really understand what you've been taught, but we're not doing that.
Yeah, that's it. And, you know, and I just think you can't put a price on that real life experience early on as well, because you just learn, you know, on your feet. And if you're surrounded by good people that you can learn from, so if you're young and you're starting as a, you know, an exec or, you know, real grassroots, and you've got a good marketing manager, depending on the size of the business as well, you might have the kind of marketing director if it's a smaller business, but always look up to those people and just learn from them. And, you know, if you haven't been to uni, there are other things that you can do. There's so many online courses as well now, free ones as well.
Yeah, literally free. I think that's how I taught myself, to be fair, because I was literally like just kind of thrown into these roles and like told to do the social media in most cases, because I was kind of that age and like I knew more about it than like I know the 40-year-olds that were employing me, and just kind of had to figure it out. And I think so much of marketing is just figuring it out, because like when the algorithm changes or like I know Instagram's like then changed, I know, another button on their platform, there's no one you can go to ask.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard sometimes when you're especially when you're in a small environment where even if you did have a marketing manager, it might not be around all the time, and you just sometimes feel a bit isolated that you're on your own. So I would always push for, kind of get yourself a mentor or get yourself, you know, someone that you can partner with, you know, and learn. It's the easiest way, because like you say, the digital landscape just changes all the time. And I feel like I can't keep up with that as well. And I'm in that bracket of the 40-year-olds that would lean on the younger ones to keep me updated with things like that.
Even as young ones can't keep up, I'll tell you, there's that many platforms coming out all the time.
I know, it is. It's crazy.
So, okay, talk us through then your natural progression. So you went travelling, came back, worked in an agency.
Yep.
What happened then?
Worked in the agency for about a year, and then decided that as much as I was loving that agency life, because I'd been travelling, I'd still got the bug, and decided that going back home to my hometown, I was working in an agency just outside of Birmingham. I thought, this isn't for me. I've just travelled for 2 years around the world with my best friend, absolutely loved it. But I was desperate to kind of just get back into that kind of corporate-y world and earn money. Because obviously when you're travelling, it's slightly different. And then there was, it was while I was sat at my desk actually, I got a missed call and a voicemail, and I hate voicemails. Obviously it's pre-voice note days, but I just never listened to them. I'm still the same now. I just think, oh, no. But I listened to this one, and it was a recruiter saying that there was a position available in Manchester for a role that I'd be really interested in potentially. And I was like, oh, Manchester. And because me and my friend, we'd met so many people in Manchester, I was like, I've just got this feeling that I need to just carry on travelling. And it was almost like, and I referred to it, it's like, it's the second leg. Should we go to Manchester? And she was like, well, my mum works at Yell. So Yellow Pages, again, showing my age. The big yellow book. And she was like, I could get a job as well. And we were like, should we just do it? You know, and we were still kind of, I think, buzzing off the fact that we'd just been away for 2 years. We had no commitments, no houses, no children, no reason not to just listen to this guy and go for an interview, which I did. And then, moved to Manchester. And that's when I started working back. So I was out of agencies at that point, working client side. And I was working for a casino group.
Oh, nice.
Which was great.
And then you somehow ended up at, was it like the race courses as well? Yes.
So my career has been a mixture of agency, in-house agency and then kind of client side. So I've got a real kind of mixture there. So I'd worked casinos for about 6.5 years, kind of progressing through, sort of various sales, events, marketing roles, looking after teams. So I worked across a couple of Manchester casinos. And then I decided then that once I'd had my first child, we decided to move back down to the Midlands, where I'm from, so we could have that support network. And I got a job then working for a horse race company. Again, in marketing, so it was a bit of a dual role because it was supporting the marketing teams at the race courses, which would be a mixture of small teams, larger teams, depending on the size of the race course, but then also heading up the central marketing team, which at one point we went up to about 21 team members at its biggest, which was amazing, because it was creative development. We'd got insights, CRM, social media, it was the whole mix. So at one point, we had 21.
How many people were you looking after then in full, like with the central team and then all of like the kind of regional teams?
So 16 race courses with either a marketing exec or a marketing manager with a marketing exec or kind of sales teams, just depending on the size of the race course. So it's like a dotted line to them. And then I was based in the central marketing team, so constantly in that environment. So that was, really good. And loved it because I was back in an agency, but I'd got a bit of both going on because it was you got the feeling of your client side because you're in control of the budgets and the, kind of what you do in terms of the marketing activity, but it was all driven from the central marketing, which the race courses were the clients. So it was in-house, and that was, so I was it was the best of both worlds. So kind of running the central marketing division in the studio environment, but then kind of going off to the race courses for meetings, and that was the client side. So it kind of brought really all the skills together from, the previous 2 agencies that I'd worked at. So,
and I guess like a question that I get asked a lot with people who want to come into marketing is like, should I go into agency or in-house? And I think there's a conception that like coming into an agency is a really good training ground, but then for you to progress and become more strategic, you have to go in-house.
Yes, I'd say it's good to get a mixture, and I've definitely got that mixture, a really good split. And obviously now I've probably tipped the scales more to work in agency. Now I've had my own consultancy for nearly 5 years. So I've done more time in that environment than I have client side now. Like I say, going back to doing this for 23 years. But I would say there's pros and cons for both. There really is. And if you can get a mixture, then it gives you both sides. And what I've always experienced is that I get agencies because I've been on both sides. So I've either been the account manager speaking with the clients who you have to make them feel like they are your only client. When your head's spinning because you've got all the other 8 clients that are calling you and everything's on deadline and it's just pressured. But that one person that you're speaking to there and then it's all about them. So I've got that kind of, that's the sort of the agency vibe and that kind of, the adrenaline rush, and I, really enjoyed that. But then on the other side, like you said, you've got that, you're in control of that one brand, that one marketing budget, maybe a team, that you're supporting you, but you're in control of that. That's my marketing budget. That's me that can contribute with the team to the P&L. That's me that can make an impact with my team and make the, my manager happy. So I,
it literally is that though, isn't it? It's like make a manager happy. And for me, I really like the fact that we work across so many clients, and it almost takes that pressure off that you don't have to just make one person happy. Whereas
exactly.
like then when you're in house and it's like, even if like you do incredibly well in some respects, it always comes down to like, well, is that person happy? Or can that person promote me? Like, is that person going to actually advocate for me? And I think if you're not in a nice in-house structure, that just kind of kills it off.
Definitely. And it's funny you should say that actually, because only yesterday my former casino manager called me and we had a really nice chat. And we've known each other, for about 15 years now. And he's up there with the people that I would absolutely rate as managers and just people that I can learn from. And we just had such a brilliant relationship whereby I was his marketing manager and got to the point where I was like, I've got this. Like, you go and sort the rest of the people out that haven't got it because we're here to sort this business out. But I know marketing, and we just built that foundation of trust between the two of us to the point where we were so open with each other that I could have those really honest conversations to say, what are you doing? Like, you know,
Yeah.
that's not right. This is what we need to do. And let's go down this route and kind of keep him in order with the marketing. Because he was like, I don't do marketing. I do kind of casino operations and, you know, running the team and everything. He said, but with the marketing, I just need people to come through the door, and however you do that, just do it. And I was like, well, you just keep giving me that budget and I'll keep spending it with that return on investment. So as long as I can justify it, keep you happy, everyone's a winner. So just back off and let me do my thing.
I love it though when you've got that with people, because like I think it takes a certain amount of like kind of like self-assurance to actually be like, you know what, I know nothing, like this is on you.
Yeah, and that comes, you know, I was in a marketing manager position when I felt that kind of confidence to be able to do that, because I knew my craft, you know, a bit cheesy, but, you know, I'd been doing it for quite a few years at that point, and I felt like I'd got enough experience under my belt to be able to do that and to reassure them. But then the proof is in the pudding, because had I have said all this, like, oh, don't worry about it, you know, you crack on, I'll do my thing, and then I fell flat on my face because I was spending money and there was no return, or, you know, the numbers were dropping, then, you know, he'd be able to pull me aside and have a little chat. You know, maybe a car park chat if I needed to go. But fortunately, that never happened, because I was confident about my ability and I proved it. You know, and we smashed some really big targets, and it's a nice little success story for that particular business.
With your targets and stuff, have you always worked to I guess like marketing targets, or have they been like kind of monetary sales driven targets? Because that's a really good distinction to ask. I ask it because when I was interviewing for a marketing exec role that Morgan then got, she was the only person in the interview that actually kind of aligned marketing with sales. Mm-hmm. Everyone else was just like, yeah, we got this amount of impressions on a TikTok, and I was like, I don't care. No,
it's I've always been driven by the outcome, you know, so knowing what, you know, the target is, or what the KPIs are, what you measured on, and that sales and marketing go hand in hand. And I've come across so many teams where they're separate. And the first thing I do, you know, when I enter a business as well, is just go, right, so how does sales and marketing work together? Because your sales and marketing should be a combined team. Everybody needs to know what everyone else is doing, because it feeds into it. The marketing will naturally create the awareness, create the volume, create the interest that leads to the sales, and the sales need to know what's coming through, and it all just needs to be joined up. So when there isn't that clear distinction of it all being joined up, that's when things start falling down. And if there's no measures in place, you know, what are you all doing it for? That's my question.
Pretty much, yeah. I think it's I've worked in both. So I worked in sales before I worked in marketing. So I think like my approach to marketing has always been kind of like, well, what is this actually making us? Weirdly as well, in most of my marketing roles, I was even commission based in those, which I find wild now, because you actually look outside of marketing roles and barely any of them are commission based. They're all just like salaried. And I'm like, well, no wonder there's some sort of resentment then, because like sales are literally like relying upon hitting their commission to pay their bills, and then they're just seeing the marketing team sat there on like their kind of 60k salaries, and they're not held to the same pressures.
But then I would argue that the 60k salaries might not have commission that's obviously linked to it, or they might have a bonus, but then the salespeople who will have maybe, you know, a salary, but it could be lower, might have uncapped commission.
Yeah.
So they could, you know, if they're good and they're flying and the marketing's working, it's bringing that awareness, and they're good at their conversions, then they could be absolutely smashing it. So their, you know, equivalent could be up to 120k. Yeah. And then, you know, the marketing team, well, it's double. And obviously, you know, sometimes there's conflict and people fall out and they get jealous.
Yeah, to be fair, actually, like whenever I've worked in sales roles, it's never been really about like the money, actually. It's always been more like we're held to a much higher standard. And I can kind of feel that, because like I've been in some sales meetings where like the MDs come in and they've proper blasted you, and you just can't imagine that happening with marketing. But then actually with marketing, you might not get that kind of like big blowout, like Wolf of Wall Street style, like bollocking.
Yeah.
But every single day you're asked probably the same questions, like how many leads have come in.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's just quiet and you get it in an email, not like a...
I suppose it just depends on who the manager is and what their style is. I think, if somebody walked in and just totally blasted me, I'd be like, I need to do something quick. But I mean, with marketing, it's like you say, it's the measures, isn't it? It's the measures of success. And when you're given a budget and you split that budget out, a lot of it is test and learn as well. So some things you might be spending a chunk of money on and it's not returning, but it's not about just letting that run for 6 months and then making a decision. It's just being on it. And now in the digital world, you can be on it by the second. You can keep your eye on it all the time. And that's slightly different to kind of my first experience of, you go to print, you put something out there. I remember working in a health club and we were doing wraps on the local newspapers, and you put a little offer in there and it'd have a little code, and it would everyone would have to phone up, and there was nothing digital, and it was so labour intense. But whether it was the big wrap that was going out on a newspaper versus if it's a big digital campaign now, we still had those KPIs in place and those measures of success. And the difference of print is that, well, we won't do that again. Or, we need to put a better call to action, or we need to put a better offer on, or maybe that just wasn't the right route for our audience, and that's, something else. So it's just about knowing, where the best place is to spend that money and making sure you measure it all the time.
It's wild actually thinking about it, because obviously like on digital ads, especially like kind of like Facebook and Facebook, Instagram, anything Meta, you can do A/B testing. So it's so much easier to actually find it. But then with print, you're so right in the sense of like it costs a lot of money to do, especially if you're doing anything like mail merge and it has to go out to people. And if you don't I think that's when you kind of get into that thing like when you mentioned at the start where someone was like sat there with a blank piece of paper, they start really overthinking it, like, well, what can this be? And I feel like digital in so many ways takes quite a lot of pressure off. We do a bit of print for our clients, and I have to like really check in with my graphic designer whenever we do anything, like, are you okay?
It's so nerve-wracking, isn't it?
Honestly,
Once it's gone, it's gone.
But no, we used to work, I know her because we used to work at a different agency together, and like I feel like we both have like print PTSD from that time. So every time we're like holding hands, like it's good to go. I've proofread it 100 times.
Oh, I know, it's so nerve-wracking. Well, we used to have like proofreading teams as well. Like that was just their job, was just to proof.
Could you imagine though if like you were a professional proofreader and something slipped through?
I know.
I think I'd quit in like.
Oh gosh, honestly, it's just so nerve-wracking, and I know, but you just taking me back there. Actually, I remember like we'd have the print reps that would come into the office as well.
Oh, wow.
And I know, and they'd obviously be selling their services, and they'd be leaving stuff on your desk, and you'd have all these like colour swatches and everything, and it's all tangible, it's all touch and feel. And and I remember going out to see a few printers as well, because they wanted to show you kind of the inner workings of the print and be your preferred. Well, they wanted just to choose them, so they would kind of take us out, and I'd be going out on like meetings with them as well, and it was great. And like I say, that was the print industry then.
None of that happens anymore. You literally just get cold DM'd on LinkedIn like, hi, do you want some print? Like, no. Who are you?
Right.
But
who are you from 2001?
Not even that, to be fair, because like I said, we do quite a bit, but like I also think like after COVID as well, like the whole kind of like entertainment side of business is just not there. It's like what we said earlier, it's like, do you want to jump on a Teams? No.
I know.
I can't sit still for more than 15 minutes. I don't want to jump on a Teams with you, thanks.
Exactly. I know, and it's just changed so much now, isn't it, how we all communicate as well.
I actually want to ask, you've kind of prompted me, what jobs were there like 23 years ago in marketing that you don't have now, if any?
Gosh. Oh my word, I'm trying to think.
Because I'm guessing that you didn't have like influencers as such back then.
No, not at all. Oh my gosh, you're making me feel really old now. Back then, back in the day.
Sorry.
Oh gosh. No, I mean, there was nothing like that at all. I remember when I took my first job at the casino actually, and I got onto LinkedIn, and then I was a bit like, what's the point of going on Twitter? Obviously pre-X. What's the point of going on Twitter, because there's no one out there. Like if I put like a little tweet out, who's going to read it? So, and I remember the pressure, because I was working in a sales role at that point, and I remember kind of the pressure of, how do we get more members through the door to the casino? Maybe you should start looking at Twitter. And I was like, but why? And I was like, but who would read it? And it was just mad, like when I look back then, and that's going back to sort of 2008. And I felt almost pressure to get onto Twitter, create an account and just start chatting some random stuff to people that might not even be out there that would be interested in coming to the casino. It was weird.
I get that, but the thing is though, like I kind of had a really similar thing. So after uni, so I did my English degree, went to work in recruitment, and then had to like join up to LinkedIn. And like I've always been like one of those people on social media where I would just chat absolute shit, you know, like because I grew up in the Instagram age where we were sharing pictures of our dinner.
Yeah, I know. With that girl.
Pretty much, yeah. So I just went on LinkedIn and just like connected with random people. But because I lived in Leeds at the time, like I was just going out, seeing my friends, going to new bars, and I was literally just posting like absolute crap on LinkedIn because I didn't really understand the fact that it was a professional platform. Yeah. But I hated cold calling people, so I never hit my phone targets. Yeah. I remember my manager one day being like, look, you don't get like your 2 hours on the phone every day, you're not doing your 200 call outs, and like what are you actually doing? And I think at one point they wanted to sack me because I just wasn't hitting my like phone targets. And then the same week 3 really big companies rang the office and asked for me because they'd seen me just chatting shit online.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they wanted me to recruit for them because like they just saw that I was like kind of going out and doing my own thing all the time, and that kind of saved my job. But then that's what made me realise that actually I probably shouldn't work in sales if I have to cold call people. I could probably do something else. Yeah. And then that something else turned into marketing. Oh. I've kind of just followed that through. Yeah. I just still chat shit now. Hence why we're here, because I think it came off the back of like a post about bags.
I know. We do love bags. Well, I think it was somebody that I used to work with at the racecourse that introduced us a year ago. Yes. Yeah, Hayley. She's amazing. Yeah, really good. Yeah, she's up there with the top marketers of the world.
Yeah, I really like Hayley. I've got a lot of admiration for her.
Yeah. Well, I looked at our LinkedIn today with our messages, and it was a year ago, like April time. Yeah, it was,
oh wow! So this is our anniversary.
It is. Yeah, but it's a happy anniversary. I know. I looked at it. I just thought I'd look back and just see what we've been. Yeah, the shit we've been chatting over the last year. And,
I'm glad you were actually prepared. I was like,
hey, I'm structured. That's how I roll.
Let's get off the train. Let's go for a Starbucks. I'm structured. I just have my priorities clearly wrong.
No, not at all. No, I just thought I'd look back and just see, like, when was it? Because I thought, was it about 6 months ago? And I was like, no, it was April. So it's about a year ago that we first were introduced.
I think Hayley introduced me because obviously, like, I started Big Rep kind of towards like September 2023. Didn't really know what it would turn into and how quickly it would grow, but yeah, I mean, here we are, we're a team of 3 now.
I know, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's really good, to be fair. And then obviously we had that quick chat, didn't we, about maybe 3 months ago, where you were talking us through your agency framework. Yes, yeah. Because there's 5 different steps of...
So it's what I do is I take founders through a 9-step framework of So you do the discovery, the develop, and then the delivery, and in that framework it's basically taking founders who are at the bottleneck stage of chaos, everything's happening, and they need to get through to the breakthrough. So it's from bottleneck through to breakthrough, which is the at the end when you're like, oh my gosh, now I've got all this kind of calm and everything's all the systems and processes and all the marketing stuff's in place. That's where I'd like to get founders to.
Yeah, so I can actually go to yoga and not be like the Grinch, just like shrieking. You know the meme where it's like let it all out and it's like
Yeah. The liar. Have you done that one? Yeah, I did yoga a few months ago actually, and we had to do the lion breath, which is really, really loud. And it was just, and I was a bit like, everyone was looking around the room, and I was like, it's okay, we're all here to do this and to be weird in the room together.
You know what? I actually really don't like yoga. I'm only going at the moment because I'm injured, and I literally went last night, and I find it so much more stressful when I come out because it's like not that challenging. You know, like when it's like not
it depends what yoga you're doing.
Well, this one wasn't challenging. I was like the youngest person in there by far. Everyone else was moaning about the menopause, and I'm not dismissive of the menopause because like I don't want karma to come back and get me in 20 years.
We'll start early.
But like, yeah, there's that as well. But yeah, so I was just a bit like, so it was a really quite like sedated class. Yeah. And I was just there like, I should have sent that email today. I need to do this when I get home. So I almost like left with like a mental checklist of things that I needed to do. And then like in the car coming home, I was absolutely wired because I was like, I've got to do this when I get back. I've got to do this and I need to do this. And I was like, this wouldn't have happened on a run. And I've been glad that I can breathe.
Yeah, but I'm massively into yoga. I really am. And that's part of kind of what I talk about as well is we're, founders, we're busy, I've got 3 kids as well. I need that kind of headspace to just escape, and yoga is my go-to thing. But I get it as well because I have a busy head with lots of stuff going on. There's always things you're planning, things you need to do. Have I put extra money on the kids' food thing for school so they can get lunch? All these things. Did I turn the heating off this morning? All these things are always whizzing around my head, and I get it. That first 15 minutes in yoga, I'm kind of still planning, but then I do really, really try hard to switch off because I just see it's my time to do that, and I get so little time to do things that I have to make the most of it. But I would say for you, stick with yoga because it is brilliant, and as a founder you need to go and escape, so you need to escape that busy head, and maybe you're doing a bit of a yin class because that is quite relaxing and sedative because I've been in yin classes where I might have a little bit of a snooze is how it feels like. It might just be 30 seconds but I wake up like that. But choose the classes that are going to stretch you. And I'll show you some photos later as well of some of the moves I can get into.
Oh, wow, okay. Shall we do the nurse? We'll just move the sofa.
I was going to say, yeah, I can do it now for you if you want. I can get my leg over my head.
Oh, wow, yeah, I can't do that quite.
But that's where, you need to do classes that really push you. And because you run, that's what you're probably used to. And I'm drawing on my previous, before agency days, have been kind of working in gyms. So,
nice. I love the gym.
But you kind of, if you're go, go, go all the time and running kind of is good for you and you can do your thinking still, or you can switch off, whichever kind of
I switch off at running because I'm like, I need to breathe.
Yeah. But that's the thing with yoga, though. If you get into a good class, it's really going to kind of exert you. You've really got to focus on your breathing, but it takes time, and that's why it's called a yoga practice, because you really got to practice it. But you get yourself...
never explained it like that to me before.
Oh, really?
No, it's like an epiphany's just gone in my head. Like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a yoga practice because you've really got to keep practicing, and to also do the meditation part as well, where you can switch off and get yourself into just a really calm meditative state. I think you'd love it.
I'll try if I ever manage to do it. So, okay, taking it back to work then, back to marketing. How did you go then from being employed to self-employed?
COVID.
Okay. Nice, quick
There
answer.
You go. Well, like I said earlier, I've always had the goals of wanting to become a marketing director or CMO eventually. I've always wanted to be on a board. That was kind of a big goal of mine, is to be on a board because it's very male orientated, let's say. And when I have been on previous kind of commercial boards, when I worked at the racecourse company, it was like me and the HR director who was female, and PR director who was female, and everyone else was male. So that was always one of my big goals as well, to get to a board, do my CIMs and fellow and all that kind of stuff.
I saw some really cool stats actually, because obviously marketing is predominantly like a female orientated career path, but then when you actually get to leadership of it, it flips, and I can't remember the exact percentages, but like I think is it still like I don't even think it's a third, but we'll go with it. A third of people in leadership in marketing are women, but actually like kind of at the entry to manager level, it's kind of like 80% are women. And I think like it's so true when you actually go into these things and like there are boards and
And that's, in the big corporate companies, they have big boards, and I just kind of had this thing that I want to get there eventually. But I always had this thing that I wanted to have my own consultancy. So it was always that sort of part of, one of my goals. But you have that fear of, well, when can I consult? When's the right time? Would I be good enough? Have I got enough experience? Am I credible? Would people like me? All these kind of questions. And then, it kind of comes down to, but I've got a well-paid job with a package, I've got healthcare, and then you've drawn back to, just stay in the corporate world. It's just easier
too, isn't it? Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, and all the, and that's what kept me there for so long. But all the time you're building experience, you're getting exposed to more and more things. And then when COVID hit, I was just like, we'll be back in a couple of weeks, just telling the team, just sit tight, we'll just see what happens, see what Boris says. And then I just, went on furlough and thought, my gosh, how long is this going to last?
Yeah.
And I'm not one to sit around. So I felt like I had a couple of weeks where I just chilled and kind of sat back and thought, we'll be back soon. And then when that didn't happen, I was like, right, if we're in it now for quite a while, I need to use this time. However, at the time I'd got 2 kids, so I couldn't just go on all these courses and do all these things that other people were doing because I'd got 2 kids to look after. But I just remember going to bed at night, just grabbing my phone and looking at how do you set up a consultancy? You know, sole trader, do you do, you know, kind of corporate limited company? I just didn't know any of it, but I used that time in furlough to educate myself and to learn. So I got to the point then where I was like, you know what, I think this is my route. And if anything happens with my job, as in redundancy, or, you know, I go back and it's not really what I want, because COVID changed so many people's outlooks on the way they work and the type of work they wanted to do. And also having so much time with the family as well, as much as I had the frustration of homeschooling with a 3-year-old there as well. It was, it was just a mad time. But I felt like I really utilised that time to get something good out of it. And that's where Studio White Marketing Consultancy was born.
I love that.
A COVID baby.
Oh, no, I do love that, to be fair. And I also really relate to it because I got put on furlough and obviously I didn't have any responsibilities or kids to look after. So I just did every online course possible. And then something in my head went like, well, why have I been put on furlough when there's other agencies in my local area that are hiring people? Yeah. So I kind of like, I ditched the company I was at and then went to another one and got a promotion that was closer to home with more money. Yeah. And chose to obviously go there. It was nice as well because I'd started my career in like a strategic branding agency, and then this agency was like a web design and development agency. So I was like, oh, that's different. I'll just give that a try. And went to that agency and used kind of furlough as a chance to learn the skills that I needed to do that. Yeah. But yeah, I think it must be a marketing thing that we just can't sit still.
No, I know. Or have I got some kind of condition? Like, what is it?
I don't have the ability to diagnose anyone, I'm sorry.
I was just like, I'm just not one to sit around. And I felt like this time is going to end, hopefully, at some point. Yeah. But my fear was, well, what if it suddenly does end soon and I do go back to work and I'm only, a couple of weeks into my planning. I haven't planned it yet. And, this could be a big opportunity for me. So I didn't know. So I was like, right, I just need to plan it. And I did. And it was almost like this little business that was just sat there ready and waiting to go. And I guess I was waiting on my first client or to find out, am I going to have a job at the end of this or not? And that's kind of where I was weighing it all up. But it's kind of trigger time, thinking back to COVID days.
Oh God, I'm so sorry. You can lie down on the couch if you want. We can
it's like, I know, yeah. As soon as you said, like, what was it that made you set your business up? COVID.
So, okay, you were waiting and to either go back to your job or to get your first client. Yeah. What came first?
So I knew that I was going to be made redundant. Okay. That was on the cards. The roles were all being kind of merged. Everything was being shrunk down. And I just thought, is it really right for me? So when it was presented to me that my role would then include sales, and it was sales and marketing, I was like, I kind of don't want to go down a sales route. And I don't even want sales in my title. I've done that. I've been there. I am marketing. I'm working towards getting my chartered status. Yeah. I can't have sales in there with the CIM thing. So,
blacklist.
I know. So as much as the two work in harmony, I was like, I'm marketing through and through, marketing business. That's what I want to do. So I just thought, you know what, I just don't think this is right for me. So because I was all kind of set up with the business that could have been a side hustle, I just made that decision that, I'm not going to kind of go down that route of returning. I'm going to take the redundancy and I'm going to go and do my consultancy. And it just so happened that one of my amazing team members, when I worked at the casino, got in touch with me and said her friend needed somebody in marketing. Do you think you could give her a shout? And I was like, yeah, I'll have a chat. And then that was it, first client.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah. I think it's always like a pivotal moment, isn't it, when you get your first client? I mean, like, I was quite lucky, to be fair, when I set up Big Rep, because I left it because I left a job that I just I wasn't enjoying, and I don't think they were enjoying working with me. It was definitely 50-50. I was a little shit and I just didn't enjoy it there. And then basically, I was kind of like interviewing for other roles, and they were kind of like your head of marketing, like your big 80k salaries, and or like with commission, where I was like, actually I could earn 6 figures here. But there was just something in me that was like, I've had such like a bad experience of like working I don't want to work for someone else. Yeah. And one of my clients was like, well, set up your own business then, and then we'll be your first client.
Oh, wow.
So that was a really nice moment. And then, yeah, it just kind of grew.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've stopped. Like, I feel like, when you're walking a dog and it's like pulling you. I don't feel like I've been stopped.
Now you've got 10 dogs all pulling you.
Pretty much, yeah. I have to hire a dog walker soon, won't I?
That's fine. That's how you scale. That's how you grow. I can advise.
Thank you. But yeah, it's literally just been like that. And I think like it's so nice actually when like you get that first client or that first person that believes in you, because it's almost like, right, okay, yes, I've got this thing and it's like almost been like validated by someone else, but also now you've got the responsibility to show up because like you have to, because someone's believed in you enough to actually 100%, engage you.
Yeah, and I was with her for about 3 years, which was almost that kind of, I didn't expect going into, what I felt at the time was that I'm freelancing. I've got my own business. I felt like, am I a freelancer? Am I a director of my business? I didn't really know what I was, but I'd got a client. So I was serving her marketing. Yeah. And so to have that relationship, sort of just grow and evolve and be part of their team for, it was just coming to 3 years, when she then brought somebody in-house for marketing, which is the natural route in the line of work that I do, is when I was working with brands, is that you would kind of be that consultant and you would get them to a point where you've got the infrastructure, you've got the systems, the processes, you've done everything you need to do. You can then take a step back and bring a marketing person in who's employed, and obviously consultants are more expensive than employed. So you naturally carve yourself out of the business. And I thought in my head, it'll be 6 months, 3 months, maybe 12-month contracts here and there. So to have that longevity of 3 years with the first client was amazing. And we're still in touch now. I messaged her only a couple of weeks ago. We're going to catch up soon. Aww. And with the person who's also my friend and client at the moment, doing some work for her. Nice. So because she introduced me, the three of us, are going to kind of catch up soon. And it's nice. And it's all girls. We're all kind of, helping each other out there. But yeah, once you get that first client, you're off. Yeah. And then, like you say, then you've got your kind of multiple dogs pulling you.
No, that is.
And you become a dog walker.
True, actually. I was thinking, if I didn't work in marketing, what career would I actually want? And it would probably be, I'd love to be like a PT or something, or I'd just like to be a dog walker. Yeah, that'd be really fun.
Well, it's funny you should say that because I my background is starting off working as a lifeguard when I was 16 and then did a gym qualification, and then I was aerobics teacher, swimming instructor. So I've done all the leisure stuff. And I was at the point at which I was either going to go down a PT route and go, kind of, and again, maybe I just got that bit of setting my own business up, kind of mindset, in those years. But at that point, that's when I saw the brand manager job advertised, because I was working in the the health club at that point, and it was advertised, and I was like, ooh, which route do I go down, PT or the marketing route? So I chose marketing, and here I am.
Awesome. So talk us through then about some of the people that you help now with Studio White.
With Studio White, so I have, for the first 3 years, kind of working with brands is how I describe them. So working with clients who I was kind of part of their marketing team to do their marketing activity, work on strategy and kind of deliver the kind of the strategy for either me or for their marketing person to then obviously execute it. But then I had a couple of agency clients come on board, and I just got this little fire in me, and I was like, oh, I think I prefer this kind of route with agencies. So I worked with an agency for about 3 years. I think I have this little 3-year thing. It's quite good if you want some kind of sustainability in your business. But so I worked with one particular agency and just kind of grew them from, a starting point of probably about 2 years in, on a real kind of growth trajectory. So I was taken on board to work on the strategy, bring a new website on board, and kind of start looking at infrastructure. And before I knew it, I was kind of part of the team in a sort of CMO position. So I delivered the project and then started working as a CMO there. Covered a bit of maternity leave for the founder as well, which was great, because then I kind of stepped into the shoes of keeping that agency ticking over. It was fully remote as well, so I was able to do that. So already I was kind of drawing on lots of skills of looking after teams, and so then I was kind of, the title changed to COO. But, when you're a consultant, you have all these titles. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever suits, whatever you want me to
Just
be.
tell me what
it's
you want
fine,
me to do.
As long as it's marketing and business related. Not quite a dog walker stage yet. But so I just found that I just really, really enjoyed working with founders and agencies. And because I've always worked either in an agency, in an in-house agency, or client side where I'm working alongside agencies, oh my gosh, it's just, I'm in this world. I speak the language. I get it. So I decided last year to reposition the business.
Yes.
So that was my thing last year. I was like, right, I'm going to treat Studio White as my own client.
Yeah.
So worst paying client ever, doesn't pay anything. So time consuming.
My boss is a bitch.
Yeah. Awful. Don't learn anything from her. But I decided to do that. And it was quite a big, bold step, to be honest, when I look back now, because it was around this time last year that I was starting to think about it and to start making those steps forward and to look at, okay, so I know what to do with my clients. How am I going to do that for myself? And how am I going to reposition, do a little rebrand? And, who's my audience? So all the marketing stuff, instead of just doing it for my clients, I had to make the time to do it for myself, because otherwise I was just going to continue being a marketing CMO, COO, growth consultant, whatever the title is. I was always going to be that for my clients, but maybe for 2 or 3 clients, because as a consultant, you reach a ceiling of capacity quite quickly. Yeah. And also, I've always said that setting up my business, my goal is to never work full time again.
Yeah, fair.
And that is my goal. I've got 3 kids, so I'm really, really busy. The juggle is real. We can come on to that. But I've always said that I need to be available for my kids, for when I get that call for someone's bumped a head or someone's not very well, can you come and collect? And I can just drop everything. My husband's got a busy job as well. He's full time, racing around the country, and we've both had those jobs in the past where I was racing around the country, he was. We were calling on grandparents to do all the pickups and everything, and it was just a little bit hectic. So I decided to take that step back and set up my consultancy for that very reason, that I need to be available for the kids, but I also am super, super determined to be successful in what I do, and I'm not ready to kind of just sit back and be a housewife.
No, fair play to you though, because I think we're in a period now where I think women have got more kind of agency and financial independence, and it's incredible, even if we do choose to spend it on things like bags and
well, that's it. It's like, how do I feed the mulberry addiction?
Yeah, but I think it's important, and also as well, it's nice to actually do things like that if that's what keeps you going, and that kind of is what motivates you. Fair play. Yeah,
exactly. And and that's, I always, and this is what I say to my founders as well, is that always stick to the true reason and the true goals of why you set your agency up. Never kind of come away from those, because the second you do is the time where it becomes hectic and chaotic, and you lose sight of what you originally wanted to do. And it can obviously change over time, and you can shape those goals and hopefully become bigger and better, but just be true to the reason why you set your business up in the first place. And mine was to never work full time again, to be there for the kids and to be, kind of successful.
Yeah, I like that. Mine was to never have to work for somebody else again, to be honest.
Well, and that bit as well. I get asked that question, would you ever, do you see yourself, running your agency forever? And I'm like, yes, I will never go back to the corporate world. I've got my experience, I've done it, and but I love kind of, working in environments where, you're still part of somebody else's corporate world, maybe, if I work with any brands. But I just love the agency environment, which is why I
do as well.
Yeah.
I think as well you get so many nice deep relationships with the people that you kind of consult with, and because you're not in their company, you don't get swept up in the internal politics and stuff of it. So actually, anything that you say is automatically I guess more trusted for them from a business sense, because you are that external voice of reason, not just I can't really say this because it'll annoy Claire in finance or that sort of thing. You have none of that affiliation with anyone, so you you're literally just there for the business and their goals.
100%, and you are that impartial eye. And I always love to build those relationships with founders, or back in my sort of corporate days, the managers that I worked with. It's so important to me to have that relationship with them of trust and them understanding my credibility and what I can deliver for them, because as soon as you get that over the line and they understand it, that's your value and that's what they buy into. It's, you can present as much as you want to what you do on paper and everything and stats and look at my social media following, look at that, look at me. But if they don't like you, then, and they don't see value in you, they're not bothered by all that fluff.
This is a thing, but also as well, like, I think this might be a personality trait. I can't sit through a presentation that's more than like maybe 8 to 10 slides. So we don't actually have them at Big Rep. Like, the whole like pitching documents and stuff. Like, one of the best books I ever read was How to Win Without Pitching or something, like Manifesto. And I was like, you know what, that's great. And we have never pitched for work. We've always just like been brought on as like your marketing arm. That's kind of how I want to keep going with the agency. Like, if I have to prove our worth to you, probably not the client for us. It's like when you're dating, like, you don't show up there, like, do you, like, really trying to give them the hard sell? Like, you just
am I being interviewed?
I think it's just one of those where it's like, take me or don't at this point, because I can afford my own life anyway.
Exactly. And that's it. And that's a nice position to be in, isn't it? And that is about reputation. And it really is, because if you're getting referrals, it's because of your reputation, it's because of your network, it's the people that know you, trust you and want to work with you. But, sometimes you do have to pitch, especially when it's big ones, and it's the big deal ones that you have to actually
I guess pitch that with those ones, like, it's part of their process, isn't it? So you would go through it. But, like, I mean, we used to at different agencies and it doesn't bother me, but I'm just like, they have to sit there and, like, watch this presentation. Like, no one wants to be in the room doing that, unless, like, they're sad. Like, but no one wants to be there.
I know, it's the pitch debate. There's a few people that I'm talking to at the moment, a few webinars that I'm joining as well, just because, the way clients and brands work now with pitches, it hasn't changed,
Does it have to be online now? Are you seeing more pitches, like, online through Zoom and stuff? Because I only did one at a previous agency, and honestly, it was the worst experience of my life. It was, like, the most boring Zoom call I've ever been on.
I'd say if it's a Zoom call, it's obviously, it's efficient, and that they can, if they're seeing 3 agencies, they can, do 3 in one day, whereas when it's kind of face to face, that what could be an hour is 2-3 hours that they're in, out, taking breaks, just depending on the size of the pitch. But it is more efficient. But I think we're going a bit more full circle now. People like to see people face to face. And I did a poll recently about pitching, and just to kind of just get the put the feelers out there, and it was that kind of in person one, hands down. And it is because people buy from people that they like and trust, which is what I just said.
I think in a way as well, like, the clients that we do the best work with, we go to their offices and we spend time with their team, and like, we really immerse ourselves in that area, because, like, I guess you get like a felt sense of what that business is about that you don't get if you're just fully remote. And I can really tell the difference between clients that we have that relationship with and maybe the more transactional, efficient type ones, and we just don't get the same level of results. And it's a bit like why with this podcast and stuff, I get people asking if they can zoom in on it all the time, and obviously we spend our marketing budget on this. We make people come to it, because, like, I feel like in person you just get so much better sense for people.
Exactly. Well, look at the giggles we had. We almost couldn't start at the start because you were crying.
True. I'll caveat with crying with laughter.
With laughter.
I mean, I am having a mare at the moment because of, like, the house renovations. I am crying a bit more than usual, but like,
this is the therapy room.
Maybe I should sit on the couch.
I know. Have a lie down.
But I think that's why I really like how you call your newsletter The Juggle is Real, because it really is. And obviously, like, we had this conversation, I do not have as much to juggle as you at all. And like, I actually had a mentor called Emma, and she set up her own business when she was like a single mum of 3 kids. And like, I genuinely think sometimes, like, oh my God, like, I'm being such a baby. Like, imagine if I was doing this but with 3 kids and like no support.
You'd smash it. You'd be absolutely fine.
I don't know. Sometimes I get guilt leaving my dog. Imagine the mum guilt I'd feel if I had to leave a kid.
I know. But you get over it. I've got memories of all 3 of them going to nursery, or even grandparents for that first drop off, and you're like, why am I, especially at the time working in a corporate job, why am I leaving you to go and be, miles away, kind of traveling all around the country, racing around, when my kids are being looked after somewhere else, and should I be doing that? You have the mum guilt, you absolutely do, but this is what we have to do. You know, it's very different to, you know, the 1950s. I'm not a 1950s housewife who's going to stay at home and, you know, bake and look after the kids. You know, it's a different world, and women want to, you know, go out, be successful and juggle it all. I never say balance, because you can't balance it all. You can juggle and you can drop the balls loads, absolutely.
Yeah, but pick them back up quick.
But you pick them up, yeah.
But you can balance because you do yoga.
Yeah, I'll show you later. We'll get some shots.
Well, it's been absolutely lovely to have you with us, Rachel.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time. One last question that I ask every guest is, if you could give one piece of advice to someone who maybe wants to get into marketing or maybe wants to start their own business, what would you say to them?
I would say, don't put it off. Make sure you've got a good plan and just go for it.
I love that. Thank you.
Always have a plan.
Always have a plan.
Always have a plan.
Oh, I appreciate it. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.